Okay, so this video is, I keep on saying it's going to be a little different. No, this is another video that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it's going to be a long video. And we're going to go over, I'm going to show you the finished product. We're going over how do we create like an insert for Imperium Legends, so you can store the sleeved cards, store all the cards, store all the tokens, etc. So I'm just going to show you the finished product. Here, if I can get the lid off. Okay, so here's the actual finished piece right here. I have some removable tape just to kind of hold it in place, but you can see that I have all of the civilizations here. I have the common cards, and I have this little area which we're using to store tokens. And it was really simple to do. You need just a little bit of foam core. That's what keeps the strength, the rigidity of these sides. I mean, one could argue that this whole thing could have been foam core, but what I wanted to do was create something very simple, thin, mostly thin walls that was easy to take in and take out. Yeah, very simple. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and this is just me, how I make stuff. All right. Ooh, trying to get everything to stand up. Okay. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hey, hello, and welcome back to the channel. One of the things that I really feel that I need to talk about is, I mean, this goes a little bit beyond games, very related to it, but it has to do with like how I organize my games, how I develop the inserts, build the inserts. So I'm going to use Imperium, in this case is Imperium Legends, as an example, because it really demonstrates the problem. Whenever you buy Imperium Legends, it's going to come like this. It looks great. You know, you have all of your different deck of cards here. I mean, everything looks good. You have of course, your tokens. I have no idea how they're all going to fit. That's a problem you're going to have after you punch it. It's like you're going to throw them all in here. I've tried with different types of bags. It's hard, but regardless. And another problem that you have, and I'm not going to cover it in this case, but another problem that you have is that you have no idea what these cards are until you remove it. Now, if I remove it, it shows that these are the Utopians. If I remove it, it shows these are tributaries. So it's kind of, you know, it's good if you're putting it away. You know, it's like, oh, I got my deck of cards here. Here's all my cards. I'm going to stick them all together, and these are unrest cards, all kinds of things. Where do they go? Oh, there it is, right there. Unrest, fame, state, solstice. There we go. Also, if you notice, these cards, I mean, these are from a brand new version. They're not sleeved. So let me look really quick. Let me show you what it looks like if I try to insert something sleeved. So what I have here are these are sleeved cards for the these are the sleeve cards for the game, and these are all kind of, they're not all of the sleeved cards. They're everything but the different factions, different civilizations. So here's an example of this. So in this set we have all of, what does it say here? All of the fame, unrest, state, and solstice. So I don't have the solstice in here. So let's take a look. So here's my cards. Let's see how they fit in here. Well, they don't. They don't really fit well. They're these slots are they're just narrow. They're wedged. So these cards, when they go in, they go wedged. They go in wedged, and you could end up damaging these ends of your card sleeves, which is not good. So the problem becomes, some people have solved it by just removing the insert altogether and just throwing all the cards in there or putting them in bags. I've even seen examples where this plastic thing, they cut the bottoms. So you can see, it's kind of hard to see here. They're all going to fall out. But you can cut the bottoms, these edges out, and then the cards will go straight in. And that's just kind of a mess, right? I mean, yeah, you can get the cards not to get crimped going in there, but the problem is when you have all of these different factions, different civilizations, and all these cards, it still doesn't fit very well, let alone the tokens that are going to go in there. So it's, there's got to be a better solution. So that's what this video is about. It's going to show exactly what I've built as a solution for this, and I'll show you all the cards that are sleeved and how they fit in here, along with some dividers that I was able to print from online, and yeah. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, so I just want to go over some of the equipment that I have here. I have a Power Lamy jam-free LM350. This is a really nice laminator that I just recently picked up because the other one that I had, which was by Fellows, broke on me. So I upgraded to a little better one. Now, you don't need a laminator to do what I'm going to do. It just adds to the stiffness of this board. So this is 65-pound paper. So we're going to do something. Let me show you what the finished product is going to look like. It's going to be a little different in color and slightly. All right. So this is the insert. Oh, what a freaking. There we are. So this is the insert. Not much to it. It's just white paper and it has some foam core in the center here. The foam core is used to provide stability. All right, and you'll see why we need that. But this is the finished product. Now another thing that you're going to really need that's important is a really good ruler. Make sure you're measuring things correctly. Don't get a tape measure. I would really go for kind of this is like a heavier steel ruler. It doesn't really bend. I use it quite a bit. Another thing that I have here is a paper cutter. And this is a little different than most paper cutters. I kind of upgraded to this only because I had it. This is a lesson I'm going to teach you. If you go cheap on a few things, it's not going to last, and that's what's happened. I had a nice paper cutter. I thought was great. It was like $100. It was expensive, and it just, after a while, the problem was that it's not that it didn't cut. It cut, but it didn't cut a straight line, and that's kind of important for a paper cutter, right? That it cuts in a straight line. It cuts completely. Well, it didn't do that. So I went and upgraded to this, and it does it. So in this example, you could use scissors. Scissors, you can be very careful and cut a straight line with scissors, but yeah, either way, it will work. So the first thing we do, so here's the bottom of our box. This is the bottom of Horizons Legends, and you see all the different civilizations there and all the different card areas. We're not going to care about that, but it's important is that we measure how deep this this thing is going to be. So I'm going to put it off screen so we don't get tempted. So on the Horizons box, you'll see like this lip where the paper, where this paper folds over. And so you can kind of see it right here. It kind of folds over. And you can see where the green is. But we want to be able to leave kind of that amount of space. So what I'm doing is, let me zoom in a little bit over here so you can kind of see, whoops, sorry. See what I'm doing. So I have my paper here. I'm going to adjust the camera a little more, so I apologize. It's still a little at a Batman angle. That's only certain age groups will know what I'm talking about. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from top to bottom. So what I'm looking at here is from the bottom to that little lip is basically 60 millimeters. It's going to be too close for it. 60 millimeters. So we want to be able to cut the paper to 60 millimeters right there. Okay. Now how long? So the width of this box is basically 180 millimeters. You can kind of see, hopefully, I'm doing it straight enough, 180. So it's close to the 180, and that's good enough. So we have 60 high, 180 length, and we can start with that. We're not cutting the width yet, and I'm using this, I think I mentioned, this is just parchment paper. You can use any paper. You can use construction paper. I'd recommend at least 65 pound, maybe even 100 pound. The problem with like 100 pound is, I guess you could do it. Laminating might be a little more difficult. If you laminate, 100 pound may work without lamination. Lamination, one of the advantages of lamination is it provides a sturdier exterior so that these tops don't get ruined as much. But that's what it does, and that's what it helps with. Alright, so let me write that down. So we have our dimensions. And let me zoom in a little more so you can see me writing this. So it's to here is 60 centimeters, and from here to there is 180. That way we don't forget. So you can see, actually, you can see it, 60 by 180. We got it. Okay, so now we're going to cut the paper. I brought several pieces along because I'm not always perfect. So let's see here. Let's do our first 60 millimeters. Where's 60 millimeters? Or 60 millimeters? Is it 60? 60 millimeters. Not 60 centimeters, 60 millimeters. Here's what's good. This line here, which is 6, is my 60 millimeters, or I guess 6 centimeters. So if it's 60 millimeters, it's 60 centimeters. So gonna put it there. I bring this up. Don't need it, but it's important to have just to keep everything straight. Actually, let's pull that back. Put the 6 there. Make sure it's a straight cut. There we are. Straight cut, 60. And then we run this. Okay. And there's our cut. It's a 60 millimeters. It's 60 millimeters. I know you can't get that out of the way. There it is, 60 millimeters. All right. So let's do another one because we're going to have two sides. And we'll do another 60. It goes right here. This is 6. I'm going to come back. All right. So this is the other 60 millimeter. So here's our two pieces of paper that we're going to use as our side walls. Okay. Now the side walls are supposed to be 180 millimeters long. And here's the 18 for 18 centimeters. Right? So that's that. So we're obviously going to cut it this way. So 180 is 18. So 18 centimeters is right there. Okay, cut it. I want to make sure everybody can see. So this, I put it to, you may not be able to see it, but this is 18 centimeters, which is 180 millimeters, and I just cut it. Right, so this is our piece, 60 centimeters high, 180 centimeters long. So I'm doing it with the same thing here. There's lined up on 18 for 18 centimeters. We run our cut. And there we go. Now we have two pieces here. Now let's take a look and see how it fits. There's our box. Now our walls should be right in there. Let's see. So you can, this is kind of weird, there we are. So you can see it just fits, right? Okay. And that's good. That's what we want. Now, let's look at the sides, the side pieces. How long do we want it? So, let me get a card. These cards are sleeved, and the nice thing about these cards is they fit in there. They fit in there pretty well, so you can see, you know, how they fit right there. You know, so if we were to put in a divider, we would want to put a divider in roughly right there, right? Which makes sense. But how wide do we want it? Yeah, the divider is going to go there, but how wide do we want this wall to be? And so, let's think about that. I want to store a bunch of information, I'm thinking I'm still at work. We want to be able to store like all of the tokens and, you know, other items. Oh, and by the way, pretty much all of the cards will fit in here. And they'll all fit in one side, right here. So we don't need to split it up. Now we could split it up if you felt like it, but let's look and see how much space we have. If we were to do that, I mean, we have some space in the middle, and we could do that. You know, we could do that. So it would be something small. You know, like that. If we wanted to break them up. So let's look at how wide that needs to be. So the cards are right here. So as you can see them. Let me zoom in on this. Okay, you can see the two sets of cards. Maybe we want to try to make our thing this wide. So if I were to measure, let's get something smaller, a smaller smaller measuring tool. I have this. This is another thing you might want to invest in. They're not that expensive. This is a metal right-angled ruler. Very handy. So let's take a look at how wide this needs to be. And we'll start with 1 and we'll go. So it looks like, you know, to give a little space, it looks like it's going to be 7 centimeters. You may not be able to see it, but the width, if I were to take these two cards in consideration, maybe 7.5 centimeters. So let's look. So total is 8. So 75 millimeters or 7.5 centimeters. So we need that. Let's take these cards out. Move our box out of the way. Let's see if what we have left over will work. These are already cut, I believe, to the right size. They should be, right? You know, because they came off the, yeah. So now let's see if they're 7.5. Well, look at that. It's awesome. They're actually almost 10. So we're going to cut these at 7.5. 7.5 is roughly right there. You probably can't see. Let me move the camera, zoom out. Here we are lining it up. And remember, 7.5, 7.5. So here's the 7. Can't see it. 7. And this is 7.5. So we're going to take this and we're going to move it to 7.5. And we're going to cut it. Okay, there we go. So it doesn't look very wide, but it'll work. It's a good size. So our box will start looking like that. Right? Now let's take a look and see how well this fits. So here's our box. Here's our 2 sets of cards. We want to try to keep them separate. And you can see our thing fits perfectly, a little extra space. Great. Okay, this is good. Okay, next step. Before we put all this together, I'm going to laminate it, right? So I'm going to turn this loud boy on. I'm going to move my right angle triangle out of here. You know, making things true are, you know, it's very important to do that. Oh, I need to cut 2 of them. So 7.5. Yeah, the lights are flashing because 7.5. And so these are the same size. So you can see there, 7.5. 75 millimeters. So let's go ahead and get this ready to laminate. We're just going to put, now I use 3mm sheets. Okay, so I have to explain something. This is more of like an industrial laminator, so it makes these terrible noises. It's the gearbox on it is very loud, so that's the way it is. So let's go ahead and open up this laminator sheet. So this is 3mm. All right, so it doesn't really matter. These don't necessarily have to be true. Because we're going to end up cutting them anyways. We just want to make sure that there's enough laminate around the edges here so that you can see a little extra space is good. And I'll put them way over here. There, I'll take this, I'll move it close because we want to be able to cut it down the middle. And then we have these two little guys. And we're going to just stick them here. Also that way. Yeah, so the gearbox on this thing is crazy, but it's really good laminator. So it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cut off the laminate anyways. And we're going to set it up so that we cut it so that it's true to the paper, not true to the laminator. Okay, so let's take a look. And we take our paper. Oh, the camera's in the way. I'm going to move it forward here. Let me move all this junk out of here. Yeah, I know my area is not as clean as it needs to be, but it should be. You should do more. Alright, so I'm going to move this back over here. So this is the back end. And I want to hit this camera thing, so I'm going to have to kind of move it up. So I'm going to take this right here and going to feed it through. There we are. And so I'm going to kind of move it up. Well, it doesn't. Okay, there we are, laminated pretty quick. Alright, before we go too far, I'm going to show you here. I'm going to cut these pieces a little better. So what I'm going to do, and I'm probably going to cut some of this down so I can, I'm going to go through, first of all, let's take these pieces and cut them up. So I'm going to just take this strip. So here are the two bottom pieces of the separate strip, and I'm going to take this strip and cut these two in half. Again, they're not true, and I don't care as long as there's, like, you know, these things are good. Cut out some of the excess here. Like that. So there's still, it's important that when you cut these things that you might want to leave just a little bit on initially, right? We're going to cut it all the way down because we don't have extra space for that. Now what I also do, and you're not going to see this, I'm doing it off camera, is I run it back through the laminator just to make sure. I'm right that way. Doesn't hurt it. I just want to make sure the glue is set. So I'm pulling it out of the laminator. And there we go. Okay, let me put these guys in the laminator again. Same thing. So these are now a little thicker. That's, like I said, it's like cardstock. It's harder to ruin. All right. And these pieces, so we have all of this. Great, great, great. Okay. So now we just need to cut them down. So we didn't have a lot of wiggle room, but what I'm gonna do is, the first thing that I do on anything, any project, I go through and I line up the paper. So I line up this paper so that it's flat, it's straight. So I'm going through this line here. That's as much as I can zoom. Going through this line, and I'm making sure the paper is aligned with this, not the laminate. And then I cut that. So now I know that this is straight finally. Now I can go to this point and I can cut the laminate here. You can't really see, but what I'm doing is I'm cutting it down right to the edge. Alright, so what we got is it's cut right to the edge. That's what we're going to need when we put things together. We're going to do the same. So we know that this is correct. We know this is right angle. This one is not, as you can tell. You know, it's pretty close, but not. And that's all right. Actually, it's not so bad. It's pretty close. Yeah, they're both pretty close. All right, so let's go through and cut this. So I'm gonna go here. You can't see, but I'm cutting right at the edge. Oops, I cut it down a little bit too much. There we are. So this is what we want. Perfect. And we need to do the same thing with this other one. Now we're not 100% done yet. So again, we're going to make sure the laminate's true. And we're going to cut this edge off. Right? So it's like that. Now, because I ended up cutting one just a little bit too much, actually not too bad. Put it at the edge here. Now I didn't true this up, so let's true this side up. And that just... Okay, now I know that this is true. I can go in here. I can cut this edge off. Pretty close. I'm going to do the same with this side. Make sure it's true. When I say true, is that it's at a right angle here. And it's right at 660, which is what we want. So I'm going to cut the laminate. Now we're down to 60. 120. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to cut this down. Cut the edge here. And here we're going to make sure this is at 60. Just like that. Like that. 60. Cut it. And actually this one is pretty close to being done. Yeah, nice. And this one is just needs a little trimming at the edge. I'll put that up there. Just a little trimming. Okay, so these are both laminated. It's important that when you choose paper, that you choose paper that's a little rough. If this paper is slick, the laminate will come right off. It'll peel off. Alright, so we're going to go on to the next step. We're going to create the boards that go in here to give it strength, rigidity. So we'll do that and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so I had this piece of foam core, I think it's foam core, laying around, just black. You know, just, it's rigid, that's what's important. It's hard to see the thickness of it. It's just thick. Alright, so now I found it, and here's what we're going to do. We want to be able to support and strengthen this. We're not going to make it the same size, otherwise we might have just made the foam core, you know, use foam core instead. Now, one thing I didn't mention as we're going through all of this, it's a minimalist type of implementation here. Minimalist, meaning I'm not using a lot of foam core, I'm using mostly these as sides, and just going with it like that. It's easier, it's faster, and it's just simple. So alright, so let's go through the idea here. So this is 180 millimeters, so we know that. And what we want to be able to do is we want to go to the edge minus have a little lip here. So if we take our ruler, and here's 180 millimeters, we're pretty close to it, right? Not everything is exactly the correct. So what we want to be able to do is we want to give it like a ½ millimeter on each side. So what the plan is to make a mark at 170 millimeters. So this is the true side, meaning that if I put it over here, it's a proper right angle. You can see it completely straight. So I'm going to use that. I'm going to measure it to 170 centimeters, and that's right here. So I'm just going to put a little mark. Just going to put a little mark like this. All right. So there we are. I'm not cutting it, not yet. Now we're going to do the same thing over here, and remember that's the true side. Here's 170 millimeters. I'm just going to make a mark right there. Pretty close to it. Not perfect, but close enough. Close enough. So we have our two marks here. Now, before I cut too much, what I really end up doing is to kind of score it. So I'm going to go through, here's our true edge. Actually, this is our true edge right here. And so this is the end to use. And we want to measure, or we measure. We want to be able to score it from this line to our other cut here. Hard to see. Let me zoom in as much as I can do. But I got a score over here and I got a score over here. I'm using the right angle triangle and just kind of going between these two. And I'm not cutting all the way through. What I'm doing is I'm just making a little line. I'm going to run it a couple times so that it is kind of going through, but not all the way. Okay, so there we go. I don't want to end up ruining this thing, so I have something for cutting. And this is what they call a self-healing cutting board. They're not that expensive. They come in different sizes, but the important thing is I can use this to cut this thing. So I'm just going to follow this line a little more. I don't need the ruler anymore. Following this line, just a little more. Well, shoot. There we are. Okay. So now we have this right here, pretty close to being done. So we have 170 millimeters. So if we were to bring our wall here, it's going to run this length, but it's not going to be as thick as you think. So what I'm thinking is that we do half the size of this here. So remember, the height of these things were 60 millimeters. So 0 to 6, 60 millimeters. So what I want to be able to do is cut this down to 30 millimeters. So here's our 3. It's hard to see, but there's our 3. And I'm just going to score it a little bit so that we know where it is. And we might as well score the 6 too, because we're going to end up cutting 2 of them. Right? One for one side and one for the other. Okay. Flip it over here, do the same. There's our 3, and there's our 6. Okay. Now, remember the best way of cutting this foam core, and you want a sharp knife. I could goof this up, so we'll see. We're going to connect these 2 lines. Just draw a point between these 2 lines, and we're just going to run and start very simply. Just a little line, and it goes deeper. Slowly goes deeper, and eventually we don't need the ruler because the channel's thick enough. And again, we're cutting this thing. Okay, so this is just about done. There we are. I'll cut that. Now, hopefully it's true enough. I'm off a little bit. So you can see that somehow this little lip is there. So I need to clean it up just a bit. Actually, yeah, I'm just gonna trim it a little bit, and I'll run it. Just trim it just a little. Okay. That way it's more or less true. There we are. Okay. So now we have one more along this same line. And again, we do the same thing. Use our ruler to connect the 2. Want to press down hard enough. Draw a line. Let's go a little deeper. A little deeper. Right, so now we have our line here. There we are. Okay, so now let's look at here. This is going to sit, and you'll see what I'm trying to do here. This is going to sit like that. And it's going to provide rigidity to this wall. Okay, now let's go ahead and do something that I think is important to do. Use a little sandpaper, and I like to roughen up the area that I'm going to glue. Not too much, otherwise you get rid of the laminate. Just enough so that it's rough. And it doesn't have to be perfect. We just kind of want to eyeball it, get an idea. There we are. Now, close enough. Close enough. I mean, if you want to get it exact, you can. Again, your right angle triangle is always your friend. You can make sure that you're true to the edge there, or close enough. You know, something like that. Right. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Now I'm going to show you what kind of glue I use. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. So here we are. We cut this lengthwise like that. We roughened it up a little bit, and now we're going to glue it. I'm just going to show you the kind of glue. There's 2 types of glue that I do use. Okay, I'm back. Cleaned up a little bit here. So we have our 2 little strips cut. There's one of our walls. Here's the other side, the other wall. And as I showed you, I kind of roughen it up a little bit so that we can get the glue to stick. Like that, just a little bit. Now here's the kind of glue I use. So we have several types. So one of them I'm missing the cap, which is why it looks got a stick in it. One of them is this PVA. Actually, let's do that. One of these is the PVA. It's a kind of a whitish. It dries clear, but it dries kind of almost tacky. But whenever I want something to stick really well, and believe it or not, I use glue. Gorilla Glue. Works great. So let me get this going. And we'll get the Gorilla Glue. I always keep a tissue close by so that I can clean off the top. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to roughen this up a little bit. Don't need to do too much. And so this side. Alright. Just helps with the bonding there. Alright, so we're just gonna kind of eyeball it. Does not have to be perfect. We want to kind of get it in the center. So kind of like that. I'll line this up, and so what we'll want to do is get our glued thing roughly right there. Right. Okay. So here we go. Scratched up. Their side's all scratched up. Alright. Here we are. Just kind of run the glue. One thing I have to tell you is that super glue binds really well with foam core, paper, that type of stuff. I mean, it is just gets on there really well. So here's one side. Same here, as is already scratched. This is all scratched up. I'm going to take our same thing. Just gonna circle the. We don't want to put too much. We don't want it like seeping out, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're covering everything. You don't want it all squishy. So we are. This thing sets very fast because, like I said, it's just the foam core, the fact that we scored it makes a big difference. And of course, like I said, I clean it off because I hate it when it gets all crusty. The caps don't work. That in there. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All it has to do is be rigid. You know, we're not going to be judged on that. All right, so we have these. Let's see how well it's working with our box. So we have our box here. Zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole thing. We're going to take our wall here. We're going to put it in. Back it up a little more. There. So you can see it fits very well. And I'm going to go this way. Like that. Okay. And if it's a little like this one might have just a little bit, maybe a little tight. And the reason why it's a little tight actually is because it has a little bit of laminate there, and it's going to be tough to cut with that, but you can use, you know, a straight edge, you know, just kind of cut it. Doesn't have to be perfect again, just you know, because we're talking about just a little lip. All right, put those aside. Let's look at our tops. So we want to do the same thing. Let's get this out of here. We're going to start by, remember, you want to true it up. So we're going to cut off the a little bit of we're going to cut off a little bit of this, just enough so that it's true. So you can see, let's do it this way, it's easier to see. You can see that here's the line, and we're doing that way that we know that this piece of paper is leveled perfectly true. So we're going to cut it like that. So now we know this edge is true. We can bring this up, and we'll cut it. Remember, it's going to go, was it 75? 6? Is it 75? These are, oh, yeah. 75. We wanted, it was actually 80. We wanted to kind of cut it back a little bit. So here we are at 75. There we are. Same thing here. 75. Is it true? I don't know. Let's make it true. Okay. Put it in here, 75. Just right there. It's true. Okay. Now let's get rid of the extra layers of the laminate here. Just okay. So, whoa! How did it go? So here we are. So, and we're going to attach it just like this. All right. Let's do the other one. So again, let's make it true. Okay, now that we have all of our ends and our sides cut and ready, it's time to tape them up. So I use packing tape as for the corners that we're going to cut here. So I'm going to get a good size. Why is there hair? Because I have dogs and they're just hair everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this tape right here, and that gets us one piece. Now these ends have to go right here, and they're going to turn. So you want to make sure that you don't get it completely flush. It's got to have a little gap, just like that. And the reason for that gap is because when you fold it, it's going to take up that slack. Alright, so let's do it one more time. Good size amount. And I'm going to tape it here. I can see. Gosh. No one's really going to see. all of the all right, so now we're going to just connect it, and again we are not going to go all the way, because we don't want to worry, we don't want to have this thing bind up too much. Okay. The next piece, we continue doing the same thing, right? It's going to end up going right here. I'm going to cut it off. Let's get this piece. Get the tape. I'm going to put a little bit of tape here. Get this side all ready to go. And we're taking it and adding it to this. And again, just a little gap. Just a little one. Like that. Seems kind of floppy. Now we just have one more to go. And so connect it to here. Oh, I got a crease in it. Oh well, it's the back. I'm going to pretend no one sees. So we're putting these together. And again, no slack, very little spacing. Cover this over here. Now we have it. There we go. We have our boom, boom, boom. Let's see what it looks like in the box. I'll be right back. Alright, so I have the box here. And these are all the civilizations, the 8 civilizations. Here's our little insert. We're going to stick our insert in here. And it fits great. So we're going to leave a little gap right here. Just a little bit. And let's take a look and see how it goes with the second set of cards. Perfect. Look at that. Fits great. You could, add more cards here. In fact, you know what? This, if you squish this, compress the cards here, this common deck will fit. That way you can get the common deck and all the civs for Legends and Classics all in one box. So if you don't have Horizons and you want, you just have Legends and Classics, you can keep them both into one box if you want. So let's see how these fit. So we have this. I hate these. Get all the air out. So there we have all our pieces. We stick our die there. There's a couple of. I'm working on another. These are the 3 segments that go in the. These are the 3 segments that go in the normal box, right? And I've commandeered it so that it has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because this is used for solo play, and they represent the cards. But if this was it, the 3 items, it would also fit right in there. So I have everything ready to go, and I have enough space here for the manuals. This thing is, you can't really tell me. See if you can Probably not. But this edge is like right there. It's perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So we are, measuring's very good. Okay, there's one more thing that I need to mention. And you probably already saw it, and that's a little bit of wiggle, right? You don't always want to have that, so there's a couple things you can do. You could tape it, of course, and make it a permanent fixture. Before you do that, what I normally do is I get this. This is a Scotch double-sided tape, but it's double-sided removable tape. So it's kind of like think Post-it notes, but a little tackier on both sides of the tape. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to stick it at the top there. You can take another strip and I'm going to stick it at the other side on the top. And I'm going to try to put them in. This is the hard part because you don't want it to stick right away. And it's tacky, so you can move it around. It's not gonna stick, but it'll prevent it from moving. Eventually, what ends up happening, of course, is it comes separated. It only lasts for so long. It's like a Post-it, right? It only lasts for so long. But there we are. So it's firm now. This thing is pretty good as far as stability. As you put things there, it's not gonna collapse. You can add obviously all your stuff in here, and everything looks good. So there we go. Now you have the insert all complete. So everything fits, which is nice. And so we have both sleeve set of cards. We have this. Now you may want to, obviously this does not fit. You have this gap. So what I normally do is I keep on hand. Let me go get it here. See if this works. I keep on hand like pieces of foam, right? So here's this piece of foam that I have. It came from something, and I keep them. So doesn't exactly fit, but yeah, it does. It's not bad. So I can put this foam in here, and it keeps that space, that gap, closed. I actually like the one we did better because the one that I made was big. Don't ask me why I made it big. It just, I made it big and wanted more space in here. I think that I had a specific type of box that I wanted to put in the center, and it was pretty big. The problem is I can't fit 2 columns of cards. I can probably, if I try really hard, I can probably stick this in here, just like that. I can, and it's kind of tight, but it fits. I could do that. It's hard at this point to look at, and pull them out, but you could. And so, actually, it's not too bad. You could put the other classics in here. So now you can carry both sets of civilizations, 16 civilizations, and everything you need for 2 if you wanted to do that. And like I said, it's strong enough to hold all of that. But I hope this helped. I hope this helped you and gave you an idea of what you can do with some basic tools. Just some basic things, and you can make something functional, and it works great. So solves your storage needs with the existing boxes, and much better than having, you can, of course, buy storage solutions, which are probably a lot nicer looking, right? They have like foam, and they have nice printing on them. So I think there's some of them out there that have images of artwork from the game on there. So yeah, you could do that. But this was put together with a piece of paper, one piece of paper, and there's even stuff left over. One piece of paper, 2 small strips of foam core, packing tape, an optional laminator. If you have a thick enough paper, you don't need the laminator. And some packing tape, clear packing tape, and you're done. That's it. So I really, believe it or not, I get a lot of enjoyment from making these things. And now I've shown you. And I've shared exactly how I do it. I'm sure there's people who are going to say, you could have done better, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm sure that's fine. But this is mine. I've created it. It's my own. And it works. That's the important thing. It works. So, all right. I will see you. If you could like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. I get these. I try to post content in this area as often as I can, and you might see more videos like this. But like if you can, subscribe if you can, if you want to. I mean, it's free, right? It's a click of a mouse, and that's it. Thanks a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, rest of your night. All right, bye-bye.